Welcome back, everyone. Well, I'm very excited to announce that together with my co-host, Cheryl Perez, we're going to be doing a follow-up series. You might recall 6 months ago, Cheryl and I co-hosted a series called A Look at Veterans. Well, as a result of the feedback that you received and I received afterward, Cheryl, I was stopped at Cumberland Farms, I'd be stopped at Hannaford, the most unusual places, and people would comment on the series. But it was also interesting, and you heard this as well, that people would say, gee, I wish I had spent more time on the topics.
People were very informed that, first of all, there were these issues that veterans face. A lot of people said to me, we didn't know veterans went through that.
Yes, right.
And the second issue was, okay, I know a veteran who's suffering like this or dealing with these issues. How do they get help? So we're going to focus on what to do.
Right, got you. Now, in the series, which will be longer form, by the way, and as you can tell, we're on location. And I want to tell you about this location in particular in a few moments. But let's go through some of the topics that you and I heard about that people asked us to go more in depth on. Obviously, the VA administration.
The VA was probably the most people focused on. Was what does we know what the VA provides, but how do we know if we're eligible for services?
Yeah, right.
Or who do we call if we have a special need? And is it just housing? Or what about medical? What about addiction services?
Right.
What about female issues? So we're going to have a social worker from the VA on who's going to talk about the wide array of services that the VA offers and how you can find out if you're eligible for services and what services you're eligible for.
You know, I want to chase that for a second because one of the times I was stopped, a guy my era stopped and said, really love the series that you did. I'm a Vietnam veteran, you know, and he said, so I guess I'm too old to be eligible.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, unfortunately, many Vietnam era veterans do not think they're eligible because we have to be realistic. Those times, Vietnam veterans were not respected.
That's right.
They were not honored. It was a disgrace to our country how we treated those veterans. And they seem to think that that is still prevalent today.
Yeah, right. What a mistake. Now, other issues that came up. Veterans with disabilities.
Veterans with disabilities, especially service-connected disabilities, whether it be a physical disability, but one thing people were not aware of were the invisible wounds of serving in our military.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that really piqued people's interest because so many of our veterans, you can't see what they're dealing with emotionally and internally that really cripple them and impair them from living a successful life.
Issues of employment are important.
Employment and employment training opportunities.
Yes, right.
Most of our veterans released from the military, the skills that they had and the jobs that they had in the military don't translate to civilian life. So what am I going to do when I come out? You know, I was in the infantry. I mean, I can't become a hitman, you know, what am I going to do with my military training? And unfortunately, there's no training for when you are to leave. So we're going to have an employment training specialist on to talk about training options and how employers around our communities are willing to hire veterans and train veterans to help them transition from military life.
Right. Just a quick sidebar, you probably noticed we have a little bee that is taken to you. So sweet.
He just loves me.
They just love you. And we're not stopping the conversation.
No, I can handle it.
Yeah, I know you can. And last but not least, and leading us into why we're here today, housing issues.
Housing issues. Housing is a very serious issues for veterans because of the high cost of renting housing today. Not just in our community, but across the country. Our veterans cannot afford to live in their communities, and oftentimes that causes them to lose their home, splits up the family, causes major depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and they find themselves homeless.
Right. Can you imagine?
No, I know.
Yeah, I know you. Right.
That's why I got in this field.
That's right.
Because I was working with a homeless population, And I kept seeing so many people homeless checking off, yes, I'm a United States veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, homeless veteran, those two words don't even belong together.
That's right.
So that's why I came to work at Veterans and Community Housing Coalition, to see what we can do to make a difference and try to eliminate the homelessness among veterans.
And by the way, where we are today is a perfect example. This is the Guardian House, again, to help veterans in transition with a very unique twist. This one is supplying services for female veterans.
Solely female veterans, and it's important to know that we're one of 2 programs for female veterans in New York State.
Wow.
And there's only 8 in the entire country. So that just goes to show what an underserved population female veterans are today.
You know, of course, I bet a lot of you would agree that what you think about immediately is safety net. You think about the fact that these men and women served our country, protecting us. We come back, it's our turn to protect them, that they are eligible, they did earn it, but they've got unique difficulties to face in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways.
Now, this particular place, Guardian House, you can house, I think you mentioned it once, it was up to 11, which is hard to believe sometimes.
Yes.
But on an average, maybe 6 or 7 women.
Yes.
Average age about 40 or so.
Yep.
Providing them with all of the support they need in terms of being in a home.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well,
talk about that for a second.
It's the services and support they need to develop the skills or redevelop the skills that they had prior to serving our country, or maybe they never had them. So we focus on money management, we focus on socialization skills, we focus on communication skills, things that we all take for granted that are part of our everyday lives that have interfered with our female veterans remaining permanently housed. So a lot of the ladies come here with absolutely no income. So we help them get income. We help them understand if they're eligible to work. We help them get jobs. So there's a whole array of services. The average length of stay is about 16 months.
Yes, wow. Think about that for a second, if you would. 16 months to go from here to here. And one thing you had mentioned inside that I wanted to just cycle back on too, these women may have families. The families may be split up. So you have programs to be able to help reunite these families again, getting the skills, getting the training to be able to unite those families.
Probably about 40 to 50% of our females come with us with children, but they're not together. Their family unit has been separated, either most of the time not by choice, but because of the issues facing the veteran. So we work to help the veteran redevelop their skills, and then we work on family reunification, which has been very successful, and it's very warming to see women get reunited with their children, grandmothers get reunited with their grandchildren. So that's a big part of the success of our veterans and moving on.
Yeah, you know, when you hear a phrase like family values, that's the core of family values right there.
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about?
absolutely.
It was interesting. I did a tour before this interview, and there was a pantry loaded with food. There was a room dedicated to helping women who might need an article of clothing. I've been in some of the rooms, and they're beautifully well-kept rooms, and an opportunity for someone to really take that moment that they would need, however long they need, to be able to reestablish themselves, their own self-worth, their own self-esteem, and then learn some of the skills to reintegrate back into society.
Absolutely.
That to
and
me
I
is,
want to point out that the pantry that is filled with food is 90% from donations.
Yes, right.
And the donation room is 100% donation. This community has been so generous to our veterans. If a woman comes to us with just one bag full of basic clothes, they can go in there and find everyday clothes. If they want to go on job interviews, we have nice outfits for them to wear, and they're all donated. We even have people in the community who give us cash donations. So if a special need arises for a veteran, like a winter coat
Sure.
or shoes or something, that we can buy them.
You got them covered, you know?
Well, the community has them
Yes.
covered, and I think that says a lot about the community that we are living in.
Yeah. Well, Cheryl, after we finished the first series, A Look at Veterans, I was so proud of the work that we had done.
Yes, me
you
too.
know, and now, so attention veterans, please stay tuned, because in the coming weeks, over the next couple of months, Cheryl and I will be talking to a number of people, specialists in the field, to help our veterans.
Who are going to give you the information you need as a veteran to get services that will help you, or as a family member to help your veteran get the services that they need to alleviate some of the things that they're going through.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll see you next week, right?
Cheerio.
Now, you know, I did notice the bee loved you and a fly loved me. Is there anything...
Well, I can't say it online.
You can't say it online, okay. And you can see this interview again, along with the bees and the flies, and the traffic noise in the background.
And our plants.
And the plant. Go to looktvonline.com.